and all that.
That's the same reason the wife of the president thinks
so if the wife of the president that is supposed to be a kind of model, for decency in government, is now going into the same thing that we had condemned. As a matter of fact, we have recommended that all private universities should be shut down or taken over by the government, so that every child will be treated like a child. Nobody will be given.
Are you being realistic? Really?
No, it is not. It is really not realistic within the capitalist system that we are running, because some of them see that if their children, goes to the same university with the children of the poor ones, they will have compassion over their less privileged ones, and those who enjoy being oppressors will not have their way with their children. They don't want that. Two, they don't want a leveler attend the same university with those of rich people. So they don't want that. They want that class distinction, so that the poor will continue to be the hewers of their wood and fetchers of their water, while they lord it over the rest of us. That should be arbitrated by a sincere and altruistic government. What we are saying is that the system should change from that encourage the class, the class distinction, the gauge between the haves and have-nots, to a level that everybody will be equal before the law. We have equal opportunity. We have equal access to everything that is available. As long as you have good intelligence, you have your senses where they belong, then you should have opportunity to aspire as far as you can be. You can be allowed to go. And we are even saying that education should be made free at all levels for everybody that can cope with tertiary education. It should also be made free. Nigeria can afford it, because education, the right to education should be viewed as being second to right to life. If somebody doesn't have good education, he's half dead. And that is why we are saying that private sectors are destroying public, private sector in education are destroying the public sector. And
I was going to ask you whether having more universities will help the system, but you practically answered that question in retrospect. So I'm going to move on to ask that UNESCO recommends requirement of minimum of 25% of the budget for education, but this is not being the case in Nigeria. Why is it so difficult? What are your thoughts? If you could make that in 30 seconds.
Actually, UNESCO's recommendation is 26.6% of the budget for education. The reason why it is not being applied like that in Nigeria is not far-fetched. It is still because of the same reasons. They don't want the children of the poor, that is the oppressors, don't want the children of the poor to have good quality education. The leaders also, some of these greedy leaders want to have all of those, the money that is supposed to be applied to education sector in their private pocket to establish private institutions. Yes, actually, having more universities will serve us better if the government is sincere about running a university the way universities should be run. But today, the government, those are ruling us, are not that sincere. And that is why we are worried that proliferation of private universities is destroying the essence of public universities. Otherwise, all universities should be turned private.
I wish we could continue with this conversation, but I have to say thank you very much for coming on the news.
It's my pleasure.
All right, we'll continue with the news now. The United Nations UN has pledged to support the African Development Bank, AFDB's power project, known as Desert to Power Initiative in Africa. A statement by the Communication and External Relations Department of AFDB on Tuesday said that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres made the pledge when he met the president of the bank, Akinwumi Adesina, in New York. The Desert to Power initiative is expected to provide electricity to 250 million people in the continent. The project is a $10 billion initiative to build a 10 GW solar zone across the Sahel, the largest in the world, aims to develop and provide 10 GW of solar energy by 2025. Still ahead on Plus TV Africa News is our roundup on entertainment and sports. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
Seek their dream. Throb with desire. Joy welled up in their hearts. A brand new life adventure is about to begin. Create a life as someone new. Nigerians in China on Star Times, Da Donkoa.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the result of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, have you?
I think we've done very well in the very difficult circumstances in which we took over governance.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze.
Run. We are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
The people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom by idiots and bandits.
Once you are in government, you believe everything you do is right. And once you are in opposition, everything the government does is wrong.
And so it's time for us to take over power.
That is how we get looped into a cycle of insanity, repeating the same thing and expecting a different result. That cycle of failure is unsustainable and it has to end now.
Infection train is back.
They take us to the bush and start asking us to call our people to send money.
What can be done as an intervention for them right now to stop abuse of all children?
This time they are away, and Peacock goes away strongly.
American rapper Soulja Boy will serve 240 days in jail for violating his probation. He appeared in court on Tuesday and the judge gave him 40 days credit on the sentence for having been locked up for the last 20 days. According to Soulja's attorney, he said in a statement, "My client is very thankful to the judge that he was sentenced to only 240 days because the
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Events, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. Right, no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is...
And in sports, Aaron Ramsey's Arsenal career is over after it emerged he will miss the rest of the season with a hamstring injury. The midfielder was substituted after 34 minutes of the Gunners' Europa League quarter-final second leg, their win against Napoli. It was initially hopeful that the 28-year-old was going to feature before the end of the Premier League campaign or a potential Europa League final, but he needs longer time to recover. He will leave Arsenal when his contract expires on the 30th of June and join Italian champion Juventus as a free agent. The club issued an update on Ramsey's injury on Wednesday, stating he will continue to receive treatment and further assessment, and confirmed he will miss Thursday's Europa League semi-final first leg clash against Valencia. He moved to Arsenal in 2008 from Cardiff City and is currently the Gunners' longest-serving player. In sports, Liverpool supporters have been told to show grace and humility after videos emerged of two people being pushed into fountains in Barcelona. And the Reds play their first leg of their Champions League semi-final against Barcelona in the city later today. And Liverpool Chief Executive Peter Moore called on fans to act in a manner befitting of a Liverpool Football Club. A Liverpool fan website, Anfield Edition, tweeted that the club should take this further. The website tweeted, and I quote, "To be pushing locals in fountains isn't on and not what Liverpool's about. Really disappointing to see," end of quote. And that's it on Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I'm Udoka Njoku.
Thank you, Udoka. And that's our news roundup of events at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel that is also at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do please join us again. A happy Workers' Day. My name is Felicity Ezewike.
Welcome to this episode of Africa on the Move in partnership with DW. Today's episode will be focusing on entertainment. So we start with Islewood. What is Islewood, you ask? Well, it's about the film industry telling the positive side of Somali refugees living in Kenya. It was started in 2001 by Iman Bohan. Interested? See for yourself.
Could Iman Burhan be the Somali-Kenyan version of Steven Spielberg? Maybe, but the difference is that Imam's films are not purely commercial. The man has a mission, and it's called Islewood.
You can get here a refugee, someone who's actually fled from Somalia, fled from Al-Shabaab, who's here a refugee. But they are trying actually they are doing business, like hawkers, shoes shine, small business. Nobody is telling their stories. People are busy telling a story of criminals, gang. Sometimes you are passionate for this, I'll make sure I help you. It's just right to mentor them, to motivate them.
And motivation is urgently needed in the Somali community. After the terror attacks by Al-Shabaab on Nairobi's Westgate Mall, Iman and his colleague Adan Osman have seen discrimination on every level.
After Westgate, the discrimination was pretty bad. People, they don't think of us as good people. They just condemned us, It hurts, when you are like in a matatu, and people start looking at you like, like a suspect. We don't deserve that. Al-Shabaab, they don't stand for all Somalis.
Eastleigh, or Little Mogadishu, is dominated by Somali businesses. A quarter of Nairobi's tax revenue is generated here, making it vital for Kenya's capital. And yet Somalis are culturally isolated.
Silence on set, silence on set.
Iman's project offers ethnic groups a chance to interact.
Eastleighwood is playing a big role, a very big role, because it has reduced crime in a way. Because most of the guys who are perpetrating heinous activities in the communities, most of them have joined and also showcased their talent.
Eastleighwood's films are shown in tiny cinema halls in the neighborhood. The challenge, however, is that Iman and his team not only face discrimination from Kenyans, they also struggle with accusations from their own community.
So many people actually are trying to disseminate a lot of propagandas, telling us, you guys, you are changing our youth, you are targeting beautiful girls, you are promoting Western, values. They want us to stop what we are doing. But I'm saying, today, if I die, there are so many like Iman who will take from it. And we hope Eastleighwood will work generations like Hollywood.
Iman's project is funded by local businesses, and it turns out to be a very successful one.
It is important we tell our stories. I like the fact that despite the accusation and discrimination, Iman is trudging on and even getting funding for his films. From making films, we go to watching films. In Cameroon, Christian Kwesi is determined to give the visually impaired a feel of watching films.
A fitness trainer comes to his home every morning because Christian Kwesi needs to exercise a lot. A side effect of the medication is that I gain weight really quickly. Christian lost his eyesight at the age of 20. He now wants to do something for blind people in Cameroon. He shows films with audio descriptions. The district authority is hosting the event at the community hall. This is the fourth screening the 28-year-old and his friends have organized. Cultural centers show movies, but they are only for people who can see. Nobody thinks of us. If people like us with disabilities don't help ourselves, nobody will. His former schoolmate Patrick relaxes after helping to set things up. We're all moved by how strong he is, by how he keeps forging ahead. It gives us a push. The first guest to arrive is an old acquaintance. He's come all the way from a town in western Cameroon. But disenchantment soon sets in. The district authority failed to send out invitations. No one else has showed up. We're going to watch the movie anyway, even if it's only for Luke. He has traveled so far to get here. At least the film suits the situation. The Untouchables is a French comedy about a man who can't move his body from the neck down, but wants to enjoy life regardless. Christian was Cameroon's youngest high school graduate. He used to dream of a career in business. Now I'm fighting to be as independent as possible. The two friends are not giving up. Somewhat frustrated, they set off to promote additional screenings. Then they make a brief stop to charge up his cell phone. I can't move around the city on my own. The city doesn't provide for that at all. Christian and Patrick have an appointment with the province's social affairs delegate. They hope to get better support from her for their next screenings. We had never heard of films for blind people. Christian is bringing along a real innovation. The politician wants to support him. Christian Kwesi hopes this will prove to be one more step toward making the city a more livable place for people with disabilities.
Christian Kwesi's story is one of the selfless individual who is looking beyond his disability to help others like him. Now from film, we go to music. One man thinks that bongo flavor in Tanzania can change the world.
Baraka da Prince is well known in his neighborhood in Dar es Salaam. He's a bongo flavor singer and songwriter. Everyone here knows his music and likes to sing along with him. Today, Baraka is 22 years old. From his earliest childhood, he dreamed of becoming a famous singer, but his father strongly opposed his musical ambitions. I remember one day I was performing somewhere at a festival and someone tipped off my dad. I was beaten a lot that day.